So I wanted to know, what does it mean to demand of the soul? And what what Paramahansa Yogananda says is that God didn't create us to be beggars. God created humans in the image of God, and therefore one must behave as the son or the daughter to receive of God, right? To receive full realization and have everything that we ask for. And we have to not behave like a beggar. And I would say that the word in and of itself is defined as to ask, to beg, right? Um, to make a reverent petition to separate from. And I'm sure that many people who are listening have been brought up to be conditioned to feel unworthy, right? We have to ask for forgiveness for our sins. And we can't get what we want unless we do. But if we act as a beggar, we're going to receive a beggar's share. And if we act like sons and daughters of God, we will receive what is really our birthright.
Because we're essentially we are the extensions of God, of source, right? So literally
Right.
we are that. And when we forget that, which is, and I'm in a
Right.
process of, I wake up and I sometimes am forgetting it these days, and I'll be honest, right? And that's when I fall back into this human beggar program, because ultimately it's a story that we've absolutely been programmed to believe for many thousands of years. And it's easy to fall back into that. And at the same time, when you talk about this way of like, of course it makes sense when you say the words, it makes sense. And it's like, how can we continually remind ourselves of this godly power that we have within ourselves? And I would imagine prayer is one of the great ways to kind of, almost like, it's the programming. It's that is part of what's helping
It's
you
the
reprogram,
programming.
right?
It's the programming. And the program keeps on regenerating itself until a new narrative takes change. And given that we are all about on this channel of diving in and seeing what sticks and what we can do to shift the consciousness of our own personal perspective, maybe that will also resonate with some of you listeners. um, just to go on a little bit about what Paramahansa Yogananda said about this even further is that, somebody can be extraordinarily wealthy and still be a beggar because they simply want more and more and more because they never feel that they're enough. And yet there are so many people who have very little who are very fulfilled and content with life. So the question is what I wrote for myself. And I'm going to ask this in a way of bringing you, the audience, in, is can you embrace um, the following? He who needs nothing is a king. Can you embrace that? He who needs nothing is a king. And I feel like for me, when I changed my status of prayer to become a child of God and not as a beggar, and to pray for legitimate things, and not like I want to be the richest person in the whole world, right? That's not legitimate. I'm not saying that I don't want material, but if all of our desires are based on materialism and a material life, it's very limited. But I'm asking myself about this is that if I change the way that I see myself, then I'm going to be shifting my consciousness, and therefore my prayers will be both powerful and wise, meaning I will have power and wisdom both. And the last part about this, and then like I'd love to open this up a little bit, Chris, is that God responds to our prayers through our willpower. That's what Yogananda said, and I loved that. Yogananda says, in willpower lies the germ of success. And what he means by that is we don't pray and sit idle, which I think so many people do. He said we have to do our part to manifest our prayers. We have to be channels of God's will.
I love that. That's so important, because that's the thing that I think a lot of people, either in the spiritual community or who are new to this way of being, but they probably are going to hear a lot of pop culture phrasing around this, where it can be it can also seem like that magic bullet solution to just say a bunch of these things and then it's taken care of.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And in some regards, it kind of is, but at the same time, we're in a physical material reality. Therefore, we have to follow it up with a physical material action of some kind, right?
Right.
To balance that out, to bring something from the non-material in the material requires the physicality. That's why on earth, why on earth would we be in these bodies if, for that reason alone? So it's important. That's such a good point. Is like, what are you still, and not taking action from the old paradigm of hustle, 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 grind, 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 but from
Right.
from a healthy place of action where it's that, there's many terms used for that, but it's when it feels like that, right? That impulse, right? We all know that feeling of like, oh, I gotta call this person. I gotta go outside and do this thing. I gotta walk here. Whatever that thing is. It could be the most basic, or it could be more profound. Like, I gotta put together this event. You know what? I'm gonna start that business thing I've been thinking about, but it just came in so hot and heavy. I gotta do it. So I think it's a beautiful way to look at that, right? Where we've got the energetics, which come in the form of like prayer as an example, right? What are we putting out into the ether? But then also, what are we actually doing to physically bring that in, right?
Right. And so you and I talk about affirmations all the time. And what is prayer? Prayer is a thought or thoughts or a series of thoughts. And we know that thoughts are things. We know that thoughts have energy. And if we are begging for something because we are sitting in a place that is in fear, right? False evidence appearing real. If we are ego driven, right? Edging God out. If we are sitting in a place of scarcity, our vibrational frequency will also emanate that out, and we are going to get more of the same. So the beauty of understanding prayer in this way is that I think that if we can become enthused, right? When we're our body through our own thoughts become the unfoldment of excitement. And that's part of I think that the willpower is to believe it, is to be like, now, I'm not saying that God or a source or the creator is saying your wish is my command. Although maybe people think about that. That may be true. I haven't experienced that in my life at this moment, but when we have an intention to bring prayer to fruition through trust, that changes the constellation of our energetic field. And I think that the problem happens when people say, well, my prayers don't get answered. Well, prayers don't happen typically as soon as we open our eyes from a prayer. we have to continue holding the space and that higher vibrational frequency, even if we don't see it.